Cordillera People's Democratic Front vehemently condemns the continuing militarization and assault on the rights of the national minorities and people of the Cordillera after the simultaneous unilateral ceasefire declarations of the GRP and the CPP, NPA, and DFP in relation to the ongoing peace talks. Oplan Bayanihan is continuously carried out by the units of the AFP and PNP in the Cordillera. These offensive counterinsurgency operations and activities are clear indications of the reactionary government's insincerity and utter disregard of the Filipino people's popular clamor for genuine and just peace under the Duterte's administration. Since August 20 to date, the CPDF recorded 74 incidents of ceasefire violations committed by the units of the 5th Infantry Division and the 7th Infantry Division Philippine Army and the PNP, Police Regional Office Cordillera, Regional Public Safety Battalion, Provincial Public Safety Company, and the PNP Special Action Force deployed in the provinces of the Cordillera. These violations take the form of continuing combat, intelligence, CYWAR, civil military operations, and CAFGO recruitment, which cover 64 barangays in 17 towns of Abra, Ifugao, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Uptown, Ilocos-Sur, and the tri-boundaries of Ifugao, Benguet, and Nueva Vizcaya. In Ifugao, combat operations conducted by the 54th Infantry Battalion and the 51st and 53rd Reconnoissance of the 5th Infantry Division since July 17 in the villages of Asipulo, Tinok, and Ambagyo force the Red Fighters of the Nona del Rosario Command of the NPA to engage in an inevitable firefight with them on August 14 to defend the revolutionary mass base against the onslaught of the enemy troops, although there was no casualty on either sides. The AFP deployed more troops operating in 18 columns combing the barangays of Ifugao and nearby Nueva Vizcaya. Their CYWAR and civil military peace and development teams proceeded to occupy the barangays of Pula and Kawayan in Asipulo, Gumhang and Binablayan in Tinok, Duli and Amueg in Ambagyo, Nueva Vizcaya, and Katlubong, Bugyas in adjacent Benguet Province on the second week of September up to the present. In the tri-boundary of Abra, Mountain Province, and Ilocos-Sur, forces of the 81st Infantry Battalion conducted a 3-column combat operation that started in August 14 in the barangays of Lamag, Quirino, Ilocos-Sur, Tubtuba, and Alangtin in Tubo, Abra, and pursued the same even after the simultaneous declaration of the unilateral ceasefire on August 21st, deliberately to search and attack units of the NPA in the area. Peace and development teams followed suit to carry out CYWAR and civil military operations in the barangays of Namitpit, Legleg, Malidag, and Itub, all in Quirino, Ilocos-Sur, and still remain to this day in the said areas. In Kalinga, a platoon of the 58th Infantry Battalion remained in camp since 2015 in the barangays of Pantikyan, Alingag, and Poblacion Balbalan until the present. It launched a combat operation on August 1st until October 8 that combed the barangays of Limos, Apatan, Baay, and Wagud, all in Pinukpok, and simultaneously unleashed their PDT units that occupied the barangays of Alingag and Pantikyan in Balbalan, Limos, Balayangon, Bayaw, Apatan and Tappo in Pinukpok, Uma and Tanglag in Lubuagan from August 2 up to October 1st. In the said operation, Darwin Matias, a youth from Apatan, was mauled by troopers with no apparent reason. They also illegally entered and searched the house of Rosenda Ambacan on August 8 on the suspicion that she was harboring NPA Red Fighters inside her house. Last September 11, joint operatives of the 50th Infantry Battalion and the PNP Special Action Force arrested Marcos Lino Agalaw of Sitio Kudkudwi, Barangay Gawaan, Balbalan, Kalinga for a trump-up charge on illegal drugs. The arresting troops planted prohibited drugs inside his pocket. The 73-year-old victim, a retired NPA Red Fighter since 2012 due to old age and severe health reasons, is currently detained at the provincial jail in Tabuk, Kalinga. In Abra, PDT troops of the 24th Infantry Battalion remain in camp since April until September at barangays Lingoy, Lamao, and Dukligan. On the third week of September, they occupied barangays Basar and Sakaang in Salapadan until today. At the same time, a composite unit from the 24th Infantry Battalion and PNP Abra arbitrarily arrested 400 civilians of Bila-Bila sa Lapadan, confiscated their hunting weapons on the false accusation that they are NPA Red Fighters. Still, on October 5, a unit of the 24th Infantry Battalion conducted combat operations in the town of Salapadan. And again, in November 5, Barangay Poblacion, Lakub. Apart from the above-mentioned ceasefire violations, blatant abuses and violations on the Comprehensive Agreement on Respect for Human Rights and international humanitarian law were committed with impunity by AFP and PNP troops and CAFGO paramilitary forces. These violations range from abduction, harassment, cywar interrogations, physical injuries, illegal arrest and detention, illegal searches, self-incrimination through forcible surrenders and false charges on possession of illegal drugs, up to the gravest extrajudicial killings. Okay. Joaquin Kadakgan, a farmer of Sitio C8, Barangay Mabaka, Tanudan, Kalinga, who just happened to cross path with walking elements of the 50th Infantry Battalion while on his way home from his Sweden farm, was shot to death with no apparent reason on June 9, 2016. Earlier, on July 2, Nardi Gunawa, a hunter from Barangay Biga, Tanudan, was murdered by operating troops of the same unit while resting along the way. They covered their crime with their usual alibi of an encounter with the NPA, although there was no NPA unit in the area. On June 26, 2016, in Abra, troopers of the 24th Infantry Battalion abducted Gregorio Bello, Jeffrey Wayagwag, T.D. Wayagwag, Marvin Dugayen, and Amos Dugayen, all hunters from Duldulaw, Malibkong. They were held incommunicado for several days and were released only after the mass mobilization of their village mate. Not to be outdone, on June 30, the entire Uma tribe of Lubuagan, Kalinga, were forced to surrender as NPA Red Fighters by the 50th Infantry Battalion. While the peace talks is in progress and the ceasefire declarations is still in effect, human rights and ceasefire violations keep piling up. This is so because the Uplan Bayanihan, the counterinsurgency program of the past U.S. Aquino regime, is still being pursued by the AFP and PNP under the current Duterte regime. These violate the Karil and ceasefire declarations and thus virtually prevent the democratic participation of the people in the peace process, as they are suppressed of their rights and freedom to push forward their national democratic agenda for a just and lasting peace. The national minorities of the Cordillera, along with the Filipino people who are weary of hardships, exploitation, and state violence in the present semi-colonial and semi-feudal Philippine society, extremely long for just and lasting peace. However, this can only be realized if the root causes of the armed conflict are finally resolved. We challenge the GRP to order its military and police forces, including its paramilitary forces, to sincerely and seriously implement the ceasefire directive of their commander-in-chief. Immediately pull out all their troops now stationed in the villages, stop the implementation of Uplan Bayanihan and all forms of counter-revolutionary activities, indemnify and render justice to all victims of human rights violations. The AFP and PNP is further challenged to give the peace negotiation between the GRP and the NDFP a chance to address the root causes of the armed conflict. Hence, we, the CPDF revolutionaries, call on all national minorities in the Cordillera to be steadfast in our resolve to struggle for our right to self-determination and national liberation, and together with the entire Filipino people to vigorously advance our struggle for national freedom and democracy with a socialist perspective. Pursue the peace negotiations, fight Uplan Bayanihan and human rights abuses in the Cordillera.